This presentation outlines Club Royale's obligations and provides recommendations to the board on how to ensure the club meets their obligations under the AML-CTF Act. Our presenters today are Hari Prasad, Amanda, Sarah, Aaron, and Maria. Let's get started.
Hi, I am Hari Prasad. In this section, let's look at the obligations for pubs and clubs under Australia's AML-CTF Act. In particular, we will look at the key obligations for Club Royale. Under Australia's AML-CTF Act 2006, pubs and clubs, particularly those operating electronic gaming machines, are considered reporting entities and must comply with a range of obligations designed to prevent money laundering and terrorism financing. Pubs and clubs must register with AUSTRAC and keep business details up to date. It should conduct a formal assessment of money laundering and terrorism financing risks specific to the venue's operations. It should develop and maintain a tailored compliance program and should include procedures for customer due diligence, transaction monitoring, and staff training. It should be approved by the board and reviewed regularly. Suspicious matter reports or SMRs need to be filed when there is a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity. Threshold transaction reports or TTRs are required for cash transactions of $10,000 or more. Annual compliance reports must be submitted to AUSTRAC detailing the venue's AML-CTF performance. Records of customer identity, transactions, and risk assessments need to be maintained for at least 7 years. Club Royale is a vibrant entertainment venue in the Gold Coast, operating a high-volume gaming area with 150 electronic gaming machines. Its extended operating hours and diverse patronage attract regulars, tourists, and occasional visitors. This makes it a prime target for potential misuse by money launderers. Club Royale should tailor an AML-CTF program by taking into consideration its customers, the designated services it provides to its customers, and the revenue it generates through its operations. The procedures need to be documented and staff trained. Customer and employee due diligence need to be conducted and accurate records need to be maintained for 7 years. Suspicious activities like attempting to buy winning tickets, sharing funds, asking checks or EFTs to be written in someone else's name, regularly gambling large amounts of cash, etc. need to be monitored. If found, SMRs need to be raised and reported to AUSTRAC. For transactions breaching the threshold, TTRs need to be raised and reported to AUSTRAC. Regular annual compliance report need to be prepared and submitted to AUSTRAC. Now let's look at the current issues facing Club Royale. The MLTF risk assessment is inadequate based on customers, its designated services, and operations. The AML-CTF program is ineffective to face MLTF risks. No SMR reporting due to lack of documented procedures and training to frontline staff. No compliance officer to ensure AML-CTF obligations are met. And no compliance report to AUSTRAC to assess compliance to AML-CTF obligations.
This is Amanda. Assessing money laundering and terrorism financing risks is an essential step for Club Royale in meeting its obligations under the AML-CTF Act. To undertake this process, we'll be looking at how the business model, with its 150 gaming machines trading from 6 a.m. till 3 a.m. every day, and the diversity of customers that walk through the door, provides ample opportunity for criminal activity to occur within the doors. Identifying and analysing these risks provides a framework to then implement proportionate controls to protect the club, ensure compliance with the AML-CTF Act, and support efforts to fight financial crime with AUSTRAC. Club Royale must tailor its anti-money laundering and terrorism financing controls proportionate to its size, its customer base, and the transaction types that occur, focusing resources on higher risk activities to mitigate money laundering and terrorism financing threats effectively. The Anti-Money Laundering and Counter-Terrorism Financing Framework requires Club Royale to apply what is known as a risk-based approach. This risk-based approach identifies the services, the customers, and the delivery channels that represent the greatest risk, so that Club Royale can then direct the majority of your efforts in controlling the risks to the areas that are of greatest risk. Club Royale's greatest risks come from high-value cash transactions, customers who are reluctant to provide identification when asked, and those patrons exhibiting structuring behaviours. These particular high-risk customers require enhanced due diligence, which includes ID checks, source of funds inquiries, and close transaction monitoring. Customers identified as medium risk are those who are regular cash players that show consistent patterns. These customers should be monitored through centralised payout registers and staff oversight. Low-risk customers, such as long-standing customers who use loyalty cards and have small, consistent playing behaviours, can only have or only need to have standard customer due diligence measures. This tiered approach provides proportionate measures that ensures Club Royale can focus compliance resources on those areas that will have the most impact, and yet it's still able to maintain oversight across the entire customer base. Let's take a look at 3 realistic scenarios that Club Royale is likely to come across. The first, a customer repeatedly deposits $9,900 into gaming machines, plays for only a few minutes and then cashes out. This is classic structuring and avoids threshold transaction reports. The second scenario, 2 individuals pool their cash together for gaming, then request the payout in only one person's name. This approach conceals the origin of the funds and provides more challenging customer identification. The third, a tourist deposits a large amount of cash, engages in minimal or token play on the machines, and then requests a check as payout. This is essentially cleaning the illicit funds, so they appear to come from legitimate winnings. These 3 scenarios show how Club Royale's operating model can be exploited with long opening hours, high cash turnover, and varied customers. This also highlights the importance of strong monitoring and reporting processes to prevent illicit activities. AUSTRAC's National Risk Assessment identifies pubs and clubs as high-risk environments for money laundering and terrorism financing activities. The cash-intensive nature of the business, the anonymity provided by using gaming machines, and the diversity of customers that use pubs and clubs, from locals who come regularly to international and domestic tourists, it provides a perfect opportunity for criminals to undertake their illicit activities undetected. The club's location on the Gold Coast, with its known links to organised crime, drug trafficking and cash-based money laundering, makes Club Royale more vulnerable. Common typologies or indicators for pubs and clubs include large cash deposits followed by little or no gameplay, structuring transactions just under the reporting threshold of $10,000, and requests for payouts in third-party names or through purchasing winning vouchers. These risk factors highlight the reason AUSTRAC prioritises their focus on pubs and clubs, and also outlines the importance of a tailored risk-based program for compliance.
Thanks, Amanda. This is Sarah, and I'll now be taking you through a prepared crime script, which includes analysis and critical prevention points to assist Club Royale in meeting their AML-CTF obligations. Let's set the scene for why pubs and clubs with gaming machines are a target for criminals. These venues deal with large amounts of cash every single day. That constant flow of money, combined with payouts and high customer turnover, creates perfect conditions for laundering. The challenge is that staff often don't realise they're being drawn into this process. First, let's look at the cast. Offenders. These can include organised crime groups, individual criminals, and so-called money mules or smurfs. Their goal is to push large volumes of dirty cash through the machines to disguise its origins. Then we have the venue staff, which consist of bar staff, gaming attendants, floor staff, and even management can end up facilitating laundering. Sometimes it's deliberate, but more often it's simply because they're unaware or not properly trained. Compliance officers' job is to put the right monitoring and reporting systems in place. If they don't, the risks multiply quickly. Agencies like AUSTRAC step in to ensure obligations are met and that suspicious behaviour is being reported. They depend on the frontline vigilance of venue staff and management. So what makes laundering possible in this environment? Let's look at the facilitating conditions. We have a cash incentive environment where venues are cash heavy by nature, which means criminals can blend in their illicit funds with legitimate cash flow. Payouts through the machines provide a simple mechanism for turning dirty cash into seemingly legitimate winnings. And monitoring and controls. A lack of robust ID verification or weak internal controls opens the door for exploitation. If venues don't tighten up on monitoring, offenders can take advantage. We've applied crime scripting principles to map out the typical process criminals use to launder money through gaming machines. Let's look at the preparation and pre-activity stages. This is where criminals lay the groundwork. First, they target venues with weak controls, places where ID verification isn't enforced, staff aren't properly trained, or monitoring systems are ineffective. They may scope out venues ahead of time, observing staff behaviour, customer flows, or even CCTV blind spots. Venues with high foot traffic and peak busy periods are particularly attractive because unusual behaviour will blend in more easily. High staff turnover is another vulnerability. New or inexperienced staff may not recognise the red flags. In some cases, criminals may even attempt to recruit these staff members, deliberately onboarding them as insiders to help facilitate laundering. Ineffective or outdated CCTV systems make it harder for venues to detect suspicious patterns or respond to regulator requests. The execution stage, laundering through the machines. So once the preparation is complete, the activity begins. Criminals bring in large amounts of cash, but they rarely act alone. They often use smurfs, multiple people, each moving smaller amounts to avoid triggering suspicion. Inside the venue, cash is inserted in structured amounts, just under detection thresholds. Gaming activity is minimal, so there's very few spins or extremely short sessions. Their goal isn't entertainment, it's turnover. They certainly aren't hanging around waiting for Cleopatra's pyramid feature, that's for sure. Offenders may also purchase winning vouchers from genuine patrons, so the redemption appears legitimate. All of this creates the illusion of normal gaming, but the real objective is simply to cycle cash through the machine so it can later be withdrawn as clean money. The cash out stage. Once they're ready to exit, criminals redeem payout tickets using different methods. Cash withdrawals from the cashier, checks used in their own name, or in some cases in the name of a third party. Electronic funds transfers may be requested or where permitted, which move funds directly into bank accounts to further disguise the illicit origin. The risk here is without strong customer due diligence and transaction monitoring, these cash outs may look like legitimate gambling winnings. This process highlights several major AML-CTF risks. There's structuring, deliberately keeping transactions just below the reporting thresholds. The use of third parties, so smurfs or insiders, making detection far more complex. The lack of training and oversight, staff failing to identify the unusual behaviour, and weak monitoring, inefficient ID checks, poor record keeping, or ineffective CCTV. Venues have clear obligations under the AML-CTF Act to identify and verify their customers, especially for these higher value payments. Implement ongoing staff training to spot these red flags and implement escalation procedures. Monitor for suspicious transactions such as short play, voucher trading, or structured deposits. And lodging suspicious matter reports to AUSTRAC when activity doesn't align with genuine gambling behaviour. Failure to meet these obligations not only exposes the venue to financial penalties, but also increases the risk of being exploited by organised crime. Thank you. I'll now pass on to Aaron.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi everyone, I'm Arun and I will be guiding you through the next section, which focuses on identifying suspicious activity indicators and sharing best practice recommendations to help prevent money laundering and support AML compliance. Let's start by identifying the red flags that staff at venues like Club Royale should be trained to spot. These indicators are drawn from OSTRAC guidance and internal AML CTF procedures. Some of the indicators are listed as below. The first in the list is cash related red flag indicator. In this, we look for patterns like large cash deposit with little gameplay, structured transactions just under $10,000, and rapid cash outs. Second is related to the gaming behavior, which is also a key indicator. It includes activities like short play sessions, voucher trading, and inconsistent activities, which can all signal laundering attempts. Third one is related to customer profile mismatches, where customer is reluctant to provide IDs, source of funds, source of wealth, and also have been previously reported in SMRs. And don't forget, external risk factors like high risk location, poor CCTV, and staff turnover can be all exploited by the criminals. This slide outlines best practice controls to address the red flags we just discussed. For KYC, we need to verify ID for high value payouts, validate source of funds and wealth, and apply tiered risk profiling. Dormant or high risk customers should be re-verified regularly. Transaction monitoring should flag structured deposit, short play with high cash input, and third party redemptions. Real time alerts and centralized payout registers are essential. Enhanced due diligence kicks in for PAPs, sanctioned entities, or suspicious behavior. It involves transactional analysis, negative news screening, and senior management escalations. These controls are not just regulatory, they are strategic tools to disrupt criminal activity. Let's now focus on one of the most critical responsibilities we have under the AML CTF framework, which is reporting suspicious activity through suspicious matter reports or SMR. An SMR must be submitted to OSTRAC when we form a suspicion on reasonable grounds. This could be because a person isn't who they claim to be, or their activity may be linked to money laundering, terrorism financing, or other offenses under the Commonwealth, state, or territorial law. SMRs are typically submitted by AML CTF compliance officer, transaction monitoring analyst, or trained venue staff who escalate red flags. The report must include a clear summary of suspicious matter, transaction details, parties involved, and the rationale for suspicion. It must be factual, concise, and aligned across all SMR sections. Also, get this reviewed for any missing information and avoid any assumptions. Let's connect our control to the crime script stages. In the preparation stage, criminals scope out venues with weak controls. Strong KYC blocks anonymous entry and forces transparency. During execution, they insert structured cash and engage in minimal gameplay. Transaction monitoring helps us detect and escalate these patterns. In the cash out stage, they try to redeem funds via cash, check, or EFT. Enhanced due diligence and payout verification ensure these are legitimate. By mapping our controls to each stage, we can proactively disrupt the laundering process, not just react to it. Every SMR we submit is a chance to protect our venue, our customers, and the broader financial systems. By linking our reporting obligations to crime script prevention, we move from reactive to proactive compliance.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria and I'll be presenting the next 3 slides. In this section, we'll be diving into Club Royale's ongoing AML CTF obligations. Basically, what happens after the initial compliance setup. Because let's be honest, Ticking the box once isn't enough when you've got cash flowing like cocktails and tourists who vanish faster than they arrived. We're talking about embedding compliance into the club's daily rhythm through regular reviews, smart monitoring, and training that actually sticks. And not just any training, engaging, role-specific learning that staff actually remember. Let's break it down. So first up, ongoing obligations. Club Royale needs to review its AML CTF program every 3 years minimum. But if red flags start popping up like high cash deposits with barely any gameplay, waiting isn't an option. Risk assessments should be regular and sharp, especially in a venue where faces blur and cash moves fast. And transaction monitoring, that's the club's sixth sense. If someone keeps dropping $9,900 in cash and barely plays, that's not generosity, it's geometry. These patterns need to be flagged, escalated, and documented. And behind the scenes, we need to ensure that the right people are in the right roles through employee due diligence checks that go beyond the resume. We run enhanced checks annually for sensitive positions and ad hoc checks when something shifts, a sudden change in behaviour, a flagged transaction, or a role change that increases access. These aren't routine, they're targeted, reactive, and built to prevent internal risk before it escalates. Now let's talk training. Staff aren't just pouring drinks or watching machines, they're the club's frontline intelligence. Training should happen annually with refreshers after any suspicious activity. But here's the catch. If it's boring, it's forgotten. That's why delivery matters. We mix e-learning for the basics, live workshops for real-time learning, and simulations using actual Club Royale scenarios. Tailoring is key. Bar staff need to spot shady behaviour, managers need to know when to escalate, and compliance officers need to stay ahead of the curve. We don't stop at knowledge, we build confidence. Because when staff understand why compliance matters and that what they do is important, they will act with purpose. Training isn't just about ticking boxes, it's about making it stick and protecting the business's integrity. Finally, governance. The board just can't nod at policy, they need to own it. When cash volumes spike and gameplay drops, that's not a footnote, it's a boardroom headline. Record keeping is non-negotiable. ID records, transaction logs, trading docs all need to be stored securely for 7 years. And directors, they set the tone. If they treat compliance like a priority, staff will too. We also lock down access. No one touches sensitive data or cash without foolproof authorization. Segregation of duties, multi-factor approvals, and audit trails are built into the system to annihilate collusion. Because in the end, it's not just about spotting suspicious behaviour, it's about creating a culture where integrity isn't optional, it's instinctive. And where governance isn't passive, it's active. Collusion, we design it out of the system. So to wrap it up, compliance isn't just a policy, it's a mindset. From the bar to the boardroom, every role matters. When vigilance becomes instinct, Club Royale doesn't just meet its obligations, it will lead by example.
In conclusion, by understanding their legal obligations, assessing risks, analysing crime scripts, recognising suspicious activity, and maintaining robust governance and training, Club Royale can strengthen its AML CTF compliance effectively and mitigate financial crime risks. Thank you.